People with ADHD and all mental health are looked down on by the world around them, but we will protect you here. We exist to motivate you, to inspire you, to listen and love the story you want to tell. We are here to understand you and to help you gain the confidence to truly be yourself. And you just might be more powerful than you think you are. Make no mistake, we've got your back. Welcome to Lobau Spark. Something for someone.
Spartans! What is your profession?
Hello there again. I'm, of course, your host, Lobau, and I want to remind everyone listening that Lobau Spark has started a fundraising effort for Crisis Text Line. We have a goal of $19 per episode, as $19 supports one person in their time of absolute crisis. And I think all of you listening know what is meant by that. If you would like to donate through our fundraiser called Lauren's Infinity, the link to do so is in the episode's description. $1 would go a long, long way. Lobau Spark is proudly sponsored by Feather, Twitter with a purpose. If you need help managing your online relationships, go to www.feathercrm.io. Lobau Spark is also supported with the help of Leo Guynan and Kirk Hofstrom. Welcome to Season 7 of Lobau Spark. Something for someone. Season 7 is going to be all about mental health warriors and what they are currently doing for their communities. And to kick off this new season, there is no warrior out there stronger than Dave Cottrell, aka Mindsetbydave. And this coming June 10th through 11th, he is going to be live streaming for 36 consecutive hours. But why? I am honored to have gotten a glimpse into what goes into Mindsetbydave's mental health ultramarathon, why he does it, and the effect it has had in the past and will have in the future. Dave Cottrell, it is a true privilege to say that you are something for someone. This is about the Mental Health Ultramarathon. And I want to know, first, what is it? What is the Mental Health Marathon, if you had to define it, and what prompted you to do it?
Okay, so it is actually the second event of its kind. So I used to, well, actually, I say used to. I've run an actual marathon more recently than I've done a stream marathon, but I got quite into endurance training. And one of the big things is that people like to see how far you can push the human body, right? So endurance athletes are lauded as being like these amazing, wonderful people. And I looked at all the fundraising that was happening for mental health causes, and it was always a physical event. It was always, let's see how many mountains this person can climb, or let's see, I don't know, maybe you should do a charity woodchopper-thon.
I think I should. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, so, but it was always physical stuff, right? And people test the bounds of what the body can do. And of course, I am not trying to diminish the amount of mental fortitude you need to do any of those events, right? So the mind is being tested in those. But I was like, well, what if we change the narrative a little bit on this? And we look at what's the most the mind can do. And I looked at it and I thought, right, okay, well, what is my sport is talking. That's my thing, is talking is my sport. And I was like, right, okay, how do I turn that into an endurance event? And the original plan for it came the November before the pandemic. So November 2019, I was in Peru. I'd just done the Inca Trail, which was 26 miles of walking. So that was the second time I'd covered that distance in my life. I covered it in a marathon earlier that year, running a marathon, and then I'd covered it walking over 3 days.
Good Lord.
And I was in a very much, I'm not the type of person to full on test myself until I start doing it. And then when I start doing it, the H part of the ADHD kicks in, and I get hyper focused, and then I want to really see how far this can go. Once that momentum, I know that we both love that word, once that momentum's there,
yes.
sometimes it's I don't want to stop. And So I'd just done this physical endurance event, and I was like, right, I want to do a mental endurance event. How can I do this? And I was like, right, well, instead of 26.2 miles running, I'm going to do 26.2 interviews. Don't ask me what point two is in an interview. But,
right. Yeah. What is the point two? I'm sorry.
Well, the 26 guests, and I'm the point two. So
that's funny.
But basically, I was like, right, I'm going to do this. Now, I'd made a lot of contacts over the years locally, and what the original plan was to rent a venue in Liverpool and have it as a physical event. And I'd been watching a charity called Games Done Quick. That's not the charity name, that's the event name, but they were basically a huge charity stream on Twitch. That was the first thing that ever got me into Twitch, was watching people speedrun games, and they'd have this event on for about 72 hours. Actually, it might have been a whole week where they just have different speedrunners just speedrunning games, and as well as having it streamed over Twitch, they'd have it in an auditorium, and there'd be people actually showing up and watching. And I thought that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have 26 interviews back to back where we have an auditorium and people show up and there's guests. So there are guests there. And then streaming it was a secondary. I didn't know anything about streaming at this point. I hadn't streamed.
Right.
This is 4 months before my first ever stream. And then a little thing called COVID hit, and
the little thing little thing that happened.
Yeah, that little. Well, it doesn't exist in England anymore, according to the news. But
okay, that's amazing.
so that happened, and then cancelled live events. But in that same time, I got into streaming. And I was like, right, well, I don't want to cancel the event, because the one thing that was set, that had always been set, was the date, and it was the 26th of February, which there was significance for that, but not significance that an American would understand, because you do your dates wrong. For you, the 26th of February is 2.26. For everybody else in the world, it's 26.2, i.e. the number of miles in a marathon.
But I thought everybody was different and everybody's style should be accepted.
Well, sure.
But not really.
Everybody is different from you Americans.
I know. Excellent comeback. That's an excellent comeback.
But yeah, so it was set to the 26th of the 2nd. Obviously, I came up with this idea in November 2019, so I didn't set it for 3 months later, because I needed to organize a venue and 26 people. So I had 15 months to do it. And then on the 26th of February last year, from the 26th of February through to the 27th of February, we did it. We had 26 guests over the course of 26 hours. We raised a bunch of money for charity, and it was great. And basically, everyone was like, "You're going to be exhausted. You're not going to make, you're not going to make it through it."
Yeah, but they don't know that. I mean, exactly.
Exactly.
Well, it's because you're probably going to be more excited and better and more hyper, I guess, probably by the end of that, because that's what you love to do.
Yes, precisely. So what I said, and everyone said everyone said, "Oh, you're being too cocky on this," because I actually took joy back then in people saying it's going to be hard for you, and I was like, "No, it's not."
Right.
I was like, I'm, not in the negative way. I'm an energy vampire, right? I basically, and I get every new guest that's coming in comes in with fresh energy, which I steal. So every single hour, I get a new person, and I get a new person to feed off their energy and to bounce off them and to vibe with them. I get the Aussies in their time zone. I get the Americans in their time zone. That everyone that's coming to the show is bringing the energy, and I just basically bounce off of that.
Because each person's so excited when they first come on, and that's another thing I wanted to ask you is, like, how do you balance? If you start to get a little bit weak, you want to be the same, I guess, for every guest that comes on, but that's got to take its toll after, a certain amount of time.
Honest answer, it didn't.
Really?
I don't remember most of it. I don't remember most of it past about 8 a.m. on the second day. So we started at 7. We started at 7 p.m.
Okay.
We started at 7 p.m. on the Friday. We finished at 10 p.m. on the Saturday. So it was actually 27 hours of streaming.
Good Lord.
Because I wanted to because I knew that I wouldn't be able to interact with chat whilst I've got all those guests in.
Right.
So I wanted to have an hour at the beginning and a half an hour at the end where where I actually talk to chat and introduce the events and stuff. I'm not doing that. That's one thing I'm not doing this time. I'm probably going to do half an hour at the beginning just to kind of say hi to everybody, and then the first guests in at
I think that's
hour
smart.
one.
I think that's really smart not to do
And the thing is, so I bounced off other people's energy. I hate to say this in case she ever listens to it, but there was only one difficult guest, and it was we were raising money for two charities. We were raising money for Mind, which is a UK-wide mental health charity, and I was raising money for a local Liverpool charity called Sean's Place, which Sean's Place had been set up by Sean's sister after Sean took his own life. And basically it was a men's social club where basically with social prescribing they do things like cooking lessons, guitar lessons, fishing, they do all these type of things. And one of the reasons, again, I've chosen them long before the event had even come around, and they were going to be kind of in part one of the hosts for it originally. And
that's amazing.
Debbie, who runs that charity, is used to radio interviews and not used to podcasts. And on podcasts, we can give answers that go on for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
On radio interviews, it has to be like, get as much information into 30 seconds as you possibly can.
Right.
So I'd ran through all of she was guest number 2, and I had ran through all of my questions within 20 minutes of that interview.
Oh, shit.
And I was clutching at straws. And then obviously chat started noticing, saying, oh, Dave, you don't seem too sharp there, Dave. You know, you're okay. You're not getting brain fog this far in. And I'm just like, and the last thing I wanted to say was, no, my guest, who's still sat opposite me, has just answered the questions too quick, and I'm not quick enough to come up with new ones. And that was the only difference.
And that was guest 2
out of the guest 2.
So it's
26.
That's interesting. It seems like it should be called the Mental Health Ultra Challenge instead of marathon, because because people are looking at you like, when's he gonna get too tired to keep it up? And I mean, that's
the sweepstake wasn't on me getting too tired. The sweepstake was on what hour will he cry, and I didn't. I nearly cried so many times, and I've cried in like 20. I've cried within 20 minutes of being on stream before now.
Right.
I have a box of tissues right here underneath my monitor for this very reason, because I cry a lot. And basically there was a sweepstakes on as to when I would cry, and no one won it because I didn't. But
how much?
We called them tear teasers by the end, because I kept on getting like really close and I could feel it. And in fact, there's actually a clip that when I said, oh, will someone just make me gush? And obviously, because that can be taken so many different ways, that got clipped and out of context. But but yeah, so there was no crying. So that was the first event, which is on the 26th of the 2nd last year. And then I was like, and you know, first of all, more excited all the way through.
Right.
And then for about 2 or 3 days afterwards, I had something that has never happened before, a quiet mind. I went out for a walk with my wife and the dog the next day, and everything was just peaceful.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was wonderful. Yes, it messed with my sleep for about 4 days. Yes, I needed to recover from it. But I've ran marathons, and I need to recover from those. I've ran an ultramarathon. I've ran a 42-mile marathon. I had to recover from that, you know?
Right.
And this is the whole thing. And people anticipate that and expect that. So my big goal was to try to get it into people's heads so that we can test what we're capable of. And one thing I know you'll absolutely love this, because you know, so much time if we had the attention deficit side kicking in too much when we were younger, people are like, oh, you need to do more, you need to do more, you need to do more. And then when the hyperactivity side kicks in, you need to do less, you need to do less. Oh, be careful, don't do too much. And so I made the commitment that I was going to go bigger, because, you know, what else is there to do, really?
Totally agree with that.
And I made the commitment that I was going to go again this year. And I was going to aim for bigger guests. I was going to aim for more guests, because I was going to aim for 36, and rather than 26. And basically, I was going to try and raise more money, just make it bigger. And I picked a different charity. I picked a charity that are mostly online. I'm trying to think of what will maximize the impact. So I picked a charity called Safe in Our World, who are an online video games for mental health, basically. And again, tying it, because I'm now going, because I've moved away from the idea of the physical event, because we couldn't do it last time. This time around, I've moved very much into a space where I'm dealing more within Twitch's infrastructure. So I've got more streamers on this time. I've got partners from Twitch on this time. I've got social, I hate the word, but we are them, social media influencers. And I've got sort of, I've got, for example, there's a game called Hellblade, which deals with a very detailed depiction of psychosis, and they actually brought in a mental health advisor for when they were making that game. So I've got their mental health advisor on, and like, you know, I'm basically trying to.
Okay, so that should be guest one.
It is guest one.
Is it right?
It is. That is guest number one.
That's awesome.
Guest order is down to the guest schedules, basically. But
right.
Obviously, I've strategically placed you at one of the hardest points in the day, which for me.
I realized that. Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, I either suck as a guest, or he's not going to be able to stay awake unless I'm on here.
It's not. But to be fair, you would have more of an audience there. That is more prime time because the Americans are tuning in by that point. You know, like that's more prime time because when I've got that guest on, you said it should be guest number one. That's 10 a.m. here. That's 5 a.m. for you. That's 2 a.m. for people in Pacific time.
Yeah,
it's true. There's none of them are seeing that. They'll all be like, "Oh, why did you put that guest on too early?" And I'm like, because there are time zones other than yours.
So
and
that's
I'm
a great
working
question.
Through all of them.
So that's a great question. How do you go about, like, what is your criteria for, you know, each person that is on, and how do you place them in that order? Because I mean, that is hard to do.
Yeah, because that's the bit I don't like, because it's admin.
Well, it's not just admin. You're also organizing personalities, and what you think is gonna. I mean, that is not an easy thing to do. Like, so
I have both written and computer versions of the organization, because I think faster when I'm writing. But the computer version doesn't end up getting accidentally thrown in the trash. So I write it on by hand, and then I move on to the computer. What I was trying to do, in an ideal world, if I was better organized than I am, and if I had an infinite amount of time to split, what I would have done is I would split the guests equally with 12. And I'm going to use quotes, 12 celebrities, 12 streamers, and 12 members of our community. That would be ideal. So if I could get 12 I'd love to get 12 big names in there, huge names. Like I reached out to the guy, Michael Schur, who created The Good Place. I didn't get him. I reached out to Ricky Gervais, who just finished doing Afterlife season 3. I didn't get him. I reached out to a bunch of big people, like, you know, I say I didn't get them. The response may still come through. But the idea was I wanted 12 big names, 12 big names in streaming, and then 12 members of the community. Because what I wanted to show was the balance between, I didn't want it to just be 36 big names. Even if I could get that, I wouldn't want it to just be 36 big names. Because one of the things I understand that big names bring big crowds and such, but what I don't like is the fact that their mental health story is no more important than yours or mine or one of our listeners, or, you know, like, it's each and everyone's mental health story and mental health journey is important. So this was the hardest part, because when it comes to putting on a show, when it comes to putting on an event, you have to think like an event organizer. You have to think like this is a festival of minds, basically. And yeah, you want to have some local talent in there, but you also need household names, which is the streamers. And then you also need headliners, which is the celebrities. But to do that would have just been, like, I'd have had to, like, because let's face it, to get 12 celebrities, I'd probably have to shoot 12,000 shots, you know, and I'd either get just about 12 or all 12,000 of them as say yes, and then I'm like, so I tried not to I only shot about 5 or 6 really, really big shots, because the last thing I wanted was for all, like, the weird happenstance of them all saying yes. So that's, I haven't put the full roster isn't together yet. What do I currently have?
Are all 36 hours filled?
Not yet. They will be. This is what I'm working on now. So I'm trying. My idea is to try and get the people. Try and get the celebrities will probably have the most inflexible schedules. So so as a result, I give them first refusal on time slots, because it's you're asking a ridiculously busy person to give you some time. The streamers are used to working around other people's time, so we can be a bit more flexible. And then the community members will be there no matter. They will be, as long as I'm not giving one of my UK community members a 4 a.m. time slot. Those community members will be there for probably the majority of the event. And and one of the hardest things has been managing that, because me, the last thing I want is anybody to think that there's a hierarchy of importance.
Correct.
And there is no hierarchy of importance. In fact, if anything, sorry, big celebrities, but my community are above you to me. But I have to like put aside my emotional attachments and feelings there, and I have to think logically and
about the event
as an event organizer.
Exactly.
That's not my comfort zone. I'd literally I always said that if I could have filled all 36 slots by people from my community on day one.
What you're saying is
it'd been easy.
Yeah, but what you're saying is actually an amazing way to approach that, because you're picking from the category of, okay, I'm again relate something to sports because that's that's what I like the most. But you have your diehard fans.
Yeah.
You're bringing a third of your 36-hour marathon as the fans. Can you imagine if you're sitting in the stands and someone comes up and says, "Hey, join me on the field for an hour"?
Yeah.
I mean, that means everything to that to that person. So you're combining that with, and by the way, we also have Michael Jordan, and then Michael Jordan's going to be followed by his biggest fan. Like that.
Well, that's actually one of the things I did really enjoy, because one of the actually two of them are streamers. One a streamer called Imagination, and another streamer called Anxiety. Anxiety's like the precursor to me. Like, she was not the first, but one of the first to do mental health, solely mental health on Twitch, and she doesn't do it anymore. She had to put more energy into her day job, and she was just juggling too many things. And Emma's kind of a creator of sort of similar-ish size to me, but absolutely adores Anxiety. So when it came to announcing their creator cards, it was like, right, I'm going to put them in the same tweet, because and I just knew that Emma would like absolutely love it, the fact that she's getting announced at the same time as Anxiety. And she also loves another streamer called Jambo, who is confirmed for us as well, but she's not in a time slot yet, so I'm not ready to release her card yet. So it's like, I'm like, it would have been, she'd have just lost her shit if she did, because I know that she did a whole sequence on gratitude at the beginning of the year, and I was one of the people that included in that list. And I'm like, a lot of the people in that list people that you're grateful towards, you're in the same event as them. And that'd be. But
that's an amazing. You're leveling the playing field. You're leveling the playing field, and that's
trying to.
So with but think about it. You've got the amazing, star, but then you also have the people that work at the stadium, which is your streamers, people. Then you have the people that sit in the stands that are diehard fans. So you're building like the players on the field, the stadium crew, and the diehard fans at the same time. I think that is a brilliant way to go about it.
And I hope I balance it well, because at the same time, it's like, in order to pick 12 members of my community, that might sound like a lot, but actually that means I'm not picking a lot of them. And I want everybody to have their moment on the field, and I know that's impossible. And that's one of the big issues for me. In terms of when it comes down to what time slot they get, though, is what I basically say to a person is, as I said, I give the big asks, what I call like my big shots, the ones that I wasn't 100% sure I'd get. I try and get them done first. And a lot of people actually, if I'm honest, and if any of my lot of listeners says, I don't like it when people turn around and go, why haven't I got a time slot yet? It's like, well, I know you've volunteered to be on it, and also especially when they do that to me when I'm live on stream and I've got to say in front of an audience, do you know what I mean?
It's like sitting people at a wedding.
It puts me in an uncomfortable position. But But the reason that I've not done that is because I'm trying to get these time slots organized first. Then there'll be a smaller number of windows for the streamers, and then unfortunately there will be an even smaller number of windows for the community members. And
that sucks. I hate.
I know it's just honestly,
it's the way it is.
It's just logistics. It's just organization.
Yeah.
And honestly, in case anybody missed it when I said it before, trust me, in terms of my priority of who has the biggest space in my heart, the community come first, the streamers come second, and the celebrities come third. It's that way around. So please, and one of the biggest things I've always had is like, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I got picked last for sports, you know, like I don't want anybody. There's a big issue, and I'm guilty of this myself, because anyone who grew up with mental health issues often felt like they weren't good enough. And as a result, we become a little bit resistant to any form of criticism or any form of, we literally take things personally that aren't personal. And I'm actually really excited to hear what you think about the TikTok thing. And if it's constructive criticism, then great. You know, it's like, if it's something that, but it's taken me a long time to get to that point. And if anyone was to tell me what I'm doing wrong, instead of showing me a way to move forward, what I would have taken that as is it'd have been opening up all those old scars of I'm not good enough. And I am very aware of the fact that I might be doing that for people, and that is not my intention in the slightest. And that's why I kind of wanted to come on and talk with you. That's why I've talked about this at length on stream, because I need people to understand the process that's going on in my mind, because if you don't understand the process going on in my mind, what you will hear is, Dave's not picked me yet for a slot on the marathon. Right. I've been in this community for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever it might be. Right. I'm always so supportive. Why have I not got a slot in this marathon yet? It obviously means that Dave doesn't value me. No, it doesn't. It means Dave has a logistical and administrative nightmare in his hands. Yeah. And Dave is not an administrator. I'm a performer. That's what I am. You know, I'm looking forward to the event itself. The event itself is going to be amazing for me. The process building up to the event. The two things that are the hardest: one, organizing it; two, getting people to care. Because as you know, I put out on Twitter saying, can I get any media outlets whatsoever that want to kind of run a story on this? And all I got was people saying, I'm not a media outlet, but can I be on the show? It's like, I'm like, that's not what I'm asking for right now.
That's not the question. That's not the question.
It's like, no, you can't, because you've just, it's like, no, well, I mean, again, that was someone that I'd never heard of before. And I've looked into their stuff since, and they might be on a future show. I don't know if they'll be on this one, but actually it is someone that, and it's weird, because I almost put a tweet out saying, can people just stop asking to be on it and let me organize it? But at the same time, it's that weird, right? Okay. Slight analogy. I know I've gone off in a weird time.
No. We're all good, Dave. I'm so fucking happy to talk to you one-on-one again. You have no fucking idea. Like, have
you ever seen that analogy, like, where it says, like, I just want someone to look at me the way like Drake looks at this sandwich or something like that? You know those posts where it's like, I want someone to look at me the way that Leonardo DiCaprio is looking at this burrito or whatever, right? And I always find it funny when people post that meme. It's like, no, you want Leonardo DiCaprio to look at you like that. You don't want creepy Jake from down the road like that. That's like kind of scary looking and a little bit awkward. You don't want that person looking at you like that, because you'd be like, why is this person staring at me? What you want is let's be honest here. You want a hottie to look at you like that, right? You don't want just about anybody to look at you like that. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, if I put that tweet out and said, can people stop asking to be on it because I've got it in hand? I don't have it in hand. And really, it's like, I actually would love I would love one of those big names to ask me, so I don't have to ask them.
Right.
But when it comes to the kind of community level tier, I already know who my 12 are. Yeah. If any of them are listening to it right now, they're like, I wonder if it's me. But the reason I've chosen them, none of that comes down to loyalty or time in the channel or anything like that. It comes down to the fact that their stories vary. It comes down to what I want to do is I want to cover a variety of topics. So I don't want, if I've got someone on with OCD, I don't want 3 people with OCD on, even though 3 people with OCD could have very, very different experiences. But like if we're talking about disability in one in 1 hour, we want to be talking about chronic pain in the next hour. We want to be talking about OCD in the hour after that. We want to be talking about depression in the hour after that. I want the show to have a variety and show the overall, because mental health is a spectrum. We've got, we'll have some people on. You're our ADHD person that we've got on as it happens.
I'm honored.
I think we will probably have multiple people with ADHD, but not specifically talking about ADHD. So, for example, I don't know if Beat Cleaver's coming back on again yet, but Beat Cleaver would be talking about that, but we're talking about it in the respect of music production rather than anything else, and using music for mental health. So I am trying to put a list together that provides a little bit of variety, and people might actually think, oh well, he's not got me on because he doesn't like me as much. It's like, no, not necessarily.
That has nothing to do.
It could be the fact. And the funny thing is, the people that say that are usually the ones that have been on the show 2 or 3 times already. And it's
that's the thing, is you're putting together a schedule and a style that, it's, at the end of the day, it is an event. Mm-hmm. It is an event that you are organizing, but you're also the one that is playing. You're also the one that is doing the stuff. So the organization kind of
on the field the whole time, no matter which the players get rotated out and they're on the
right. You're putting yourself into a game and then choosing the people. But it's
I'm quarterbacking the whole thing. I hope I used that right.
Right, exactly. It's like, but there's no substitution possibilities.
No, and we're always on the offense.
Right, exactly. The best part about that, though, is that I think if you can just explain that, like, there is admin work that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And that's, or any of you, no matter what, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the admin part of this particular event. You're not going to put a popcorn salesman at quarterback just because you love the popcorn salesman and they're your best friend.
Exactly.
You can't do that.
And the other thing I also got to take into account is that there are people that I've interviewed before that I love them to bits, but I know that I have to do more work to get answers out of them.
Right.
And again, I will bring that person on for 2 or 3 hours in a normal stream.
Right.
But for a 45-minute stream where I need the energy to be, even though I'm the quarterback, I need them to carry me. I need the team to carry me. So I can't, like what I said to you before about Debbie, from Sean's place, like, love her to bits, think she's absolutely fantastic, but like found that hour really, really hard. I can't have too much of that, because if I have too much of that, I'm going to start zoning out. I'm going to start spacing out. My tiredness is going to kick in.
It's a time and a place.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a time and a place for both. And the middle.
While we're on the theme of sports analogies, which I say as if we ever leave it, you'll be glad to know that there is a timeout every hour. So it's only actually 45 minutes in every hour. And then I take 50, because the biggest, other than the admin.
That was my next question, actually. It's how do you do that?
Other than the admin, I was going to say, other than the admin side of it, the biggest issue I've had is a lot of people actually coming back and saying, but this is bad for your mental health. And I've had a lot of people say, this is bad for your mental health. You shouldn't be doing 36 hours. Even the charity I'm raising money for, they didn't say it's bad for your mental health, but they just said, please be careful, which again, I understand. Now, what I want to, linking back into the very first question of what is this and why am I doing it?
Yeah.
I am treating this the same way I would a physical endurance event, i.e. there's been training for this. I did, in the build up to the 26th last year, I did 3 people in one night, then 6 people in another night, 13 in another night, and then I did the 26th.
Right.
I've done consecutive interviews. I've not done as many since the 26th, so this is a big step from there. But the big thing I did last year, and I'm bringing this into this year, and this goes against every one of my own feelings, really, because all of my feelings are, when the going's good, you keep going, right? So if I get to like the really juicy bit of a conversation at 45 minutes, my inclination is to keep going with that person. You've had 45-minute conversations with me that last 3 hours.
Oh yeah, no, I'm glad I know that, though. I'm glad I know that that it's 45 minutes. You should have like a clock behind you that literally counts out. That would help.
Like automatically kicks the person out, so I don't have to do it.
Yeah, exactly, something like that.
But so what? So it's 45 minutes on, 15 minutes off. Now in those 15 minutes, depending on the hour, and I write this out in a schedule. Is right. It's like this amount of times I'll get myself a coffee or something, like which I very control because I'm very caffeine sensitive. This amount of times I'll have a shower and change clothes. I'll brush my teeth in these different spaces because all of these different things, like even changing my socks. I mean, it'll be different because it was in February last time around, so the room was cold. In June, the room will be warm, which might probably make it harder. So there's like I'll have a shower, I'll brush my teeth, I'll have some food, and I had to be strict with that because again, all of my instincts were like, because as a streamer, the only time that I'm not fully on with chat is when I'm fully on with a guest.
Right.
And I need to be full. I can't, like, my ADHD will not let me manage the guest and manage the chat at the same time.
Right.
So I usually have 45 in a regular stream, 45 minutes with the guest, 50 minutes with the guest. Then we go over to the chat for questions. With this, there's no chat questions. The chat can talk amongst themselves but the chat don't get. And we are going to make one slight adjustment to that, which is we've got something called featured chat, which can throw up a question on stream. I am going to have my mods pick one or two questions from chat, so they'll be looking through and then they'll put that one question on screen for me, because that way round I'll be able to I don't have to scroll through. Because
I can't imagine that. I mean, especially with your base at Twitch, like that's going to be a lot of.
Well, yeah, I mean we have a base of around about 30 to 40 now. We had a 56 average for the one last year. I imagine
average,
we will get
a 56
average over 26 hours. Yeah.
Okay, that's impressive as shit.
Well, to be fair, most people opened a window at the beginning of the day and left it lurking.
Yeah, but still, I mean,
you'll begin to see this as well, because I know you're still in the first year still, or first 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I just started this a year ago.
So right now you're like, I want to talk to everybody that's got ADHD ever, and there's a bunch of people that like hear about the show and want to be on the show. There'll come a point where more people want to be on the show than you've got slots for, or that you've got the capacity for. And
I prepared for that.
Oh, good.
That's why I have basically tried to create a community that wants to talk to people too.
Yeah.
So that all of a sudden, if I can't do that, Leo might, Kirk might, like, you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, yes, I want to. I mean, there's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind that it gets too overwhelming. Like, I know that the way I'm going at this, like, I bet 99%, if you're in Vegas, you're betting on me to burn out. I will tell you that will not happen. And the reason is because my heart is just too big to burn out. It just is, like with anything I've ever done. So the evidence does not support that theory. But you have to have a circle of people that you trust a lot, that have your back, that know, like, can you imagine if someone wanted to be on your show and you were like, I really can't do this, but Beat Cleaver will talk to me.
Yeah.
Or that, somebody else will talk to you. And that matters. Like, because the goal is, I do want to talk to every single ADHD person on Earth. Is that going to happen? Fuck no. But what might happen is every ADHD person talks to another ADHD person on Earth.
Yeah.
That's my only.
Well, yeah, and I get that, and I think the thing is, it comes to a point where the show, like, I've tried to explain this to my eldest son, because he's like, he's getting into film production and stuff, and
that's cool.
And he's talked about like wanting to podcast later on, but just because he wants to talk to like cool directors and stuff. And the thing is, people do give a crap about what size you are. Yeah. And it's like it's an interesting process of like we talked about the festival before. It's like when you first start out, you've got the people that want to be on are local bands. And the funny thing is, I've actually found that sometimes the local band, as in someone that's never spoken about their mental health or their ADHD before, they bring the biggest crowd because their audience, their friends have never heard them on a podcast before. So 20 of their friends come along to listen to the podcast. Whereas, like, you know, you get like a mid-tier celebrity on, and everyone's heard that person on a podcast before. So when it's the mid-tier is the weird part, because like if I got like none of my friends that care about that directly from Hellblade, my community do, and the Twitch community do, but like none of my kind of pre-Twitch, I don't call them IRL friends, because I think that my friends that I meet online are in real life as well. We call them AFK friends now, so away from keyboard. Those people that I've known since before that, they don't give two craps about that. But if I got The Rock on, then suddenly all of my friends that have never really been interested in my podcast because they don't want to listen to a show about mental health, well, they want to listen to The Rock on there, don't they?
Right.
And that's...
But with your personality, and I think I know you relatively, you know, well in this, I think that you are so thirsty to get the big people, but for the right reason.
Oh, absolutely.
You want the big person so that the small person, more small people tune in, so that you can then take your attention to them. And that is fucking respectable. I'm sorry, because most people want big people on so that they themselves can get big. You want to get big to help the small. And that's it in a nutshell. I mean, my God, how big of a heart do you have to do that shit? I mean,
no, when you say it like that, I'm just like, well, that's just how I am. Just talk about the fact that if you keep on going, if you're consistent, if you do well,
that's
will
a fairy
do
tale.
Well.
That's the fairy tale.
Exactly.
And that's the lower percentage of what's going to happen. Odds are you will keep chipping away, and you will keep chipping away, and it might not. You might not ever get big. But if it's about you getting big, you shouldn't be chipping in the fucking first place.
But so I've always said that me getting the same as what you just said. Then for me getting big, the only reason I want to get big is to reach more people, like because
it's to reach the small. That's
exactly. Well, that's I've never put it that way, so I'm going to steal that. The only I want to get big.
Dang it.
So one of my absolute favorite things to say to people is, on the days where you feel you can do nothing and you do anything, then that means everything. And of the few hundred people that I've had the privilege of being able to say that to, especially ones that are struggling with depression that day, well, I know I'm going to use your word, that can be a spark for somebody. Now, if I get that phrase, if I manage to get that phrase in front of 10 million people, then that's going to have a lot more impact on those 10 million people than hashtag mental health would. And that's what I want it for. It's the multiplier. I want the work that I do to be multiplied by because I believe in the power of the messages that I put out there. I believe, and that's and you've seen this. You've actually commented on it, along with shout out to Lady on TikTok.
She's still not following me, but whatever. The social media thing.
But like her and a few others, and I know because I know that you kind of commented on her, commented this, and there's been a weird slew in the last sort of 3-4 weeks of people on TikTok just saying, "Oh my God, why haven't you blown up yet?"
Do you want to go into that right now?
Yes.
I have one little bit of what I think might. So TikTok is like quite literally, it's the app, of course, that I love the most now because I get the most feedback. I get the most interaction from TikTok. I say the exact same thing on Twitter in written word. I get nothing. I go to TikTok and say it on video. I get a lot of views. But I never got views on TikTok or likes or whatever with this in the background speaking in the podcast studio. I took exactly what I would say here and walked around and said it outside or wherever else. That, in my opinion, is what I think my two viral or really viral videos are: me bringing in a trash can. Okay. That they got one, but But the point was legit. It was, I never would have done this if my wife wasn't, or if my wife was home.
Yeah.
So it was a tip on cleaning, and then I just described it. You have 1,000 videos that are so ridiculously insightful that if you just walked around outside in the TikTok wants to see the real everyday, thing, not the studio. And if they see Mindset by Dave on the bottom of the screen, or if they see, like when I put Low Bow Spark at the end of every video I created at the beginning, nothing. I took away that one picture of the logo of me lighting a fire, the views went up. They hate cross promotion more than anything I've ever seen. and so like, for example, if I mention you in a video on TikTok, it does well, but if I were to not mention you and say, oh, by the way, I'm confident because I am confident, whatever, it gets more.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, when you stitch with one of my videos, it does better than the original video.
So back to the mental health ultramarathon. You're doing 36 hours of
36
something. What is the most emotional moment from last year's marathon?
So the most emotional moments, I sort of teased this earlier where I said there was those teasers, and I said the clip is me saying, can someone make me gush? But actually what comes before that clip was the most important thing for me. There was a member of our community whose name is Helen, or she occasionally referred to as the nice speaking lady because she has a very posh voice. And she's one of my mods. She's in the community as Almond Triangle. And she's a podcast host herself, but she doesn't like being on camera. And for this, obviously, she had to break that rule. And she normally goes behind the screen names, and for this, she used their real name. So it was a bit of a coming out of her comfort zone, and she's always struggled with fitting in. And she basically said something on the lines of that she realized by listening to everybody else in chat that she doesn't fully align with anybody, but she aligns with little bits and pieces of everybody. So in that way, we're all one by, like, rather than trying to find the person that you align with 100% of it, it's seeing that similarity within you and other people in the community. And nothing gets to me more than community. My audience, actually, some of my audience know this, that the weirdest way to get me to cry is, rather than compliment me themselves, is to get somebody else to compliment me on their behalf. I don't know why this happens, but the first time it happened is one of my clients from real life from away from keyboard from before the pandemic. Her friends sent me a thank you card just saying thank you for giving my friend her life back. Thank you for giving my friend and thank you for thank you for giving my friend her confidence and all of this. And honestly, she'd thanked me a bunch of times over the course of the year, and it always meant something, but it's almost like I've got defenses for that, like someone thanks me for that directly, I accept the compliment, and
right.
and it's a reasonably comfortable experience. And then reasonably comfortable, because I used to hate accepting compliments. But then if someone else thanks me like that, and in the marathon as well, so it's like someone else thanked me for a session that I'd done with her husband about, like, giving him his confidence back, or giving him his confidence to return to work and stuff. And it's like, if he'd have thanked me directly, I'd have been like, oh, you're welcome, mate, no worries about it. Right. But his partner came in and said, thank you so much for giving me my husband back. And that it's weird. That gets straight past my defenses. So when people compliment my community, or when people compliment the community that we've brought together, I'm so much more proud of that than I am of myself.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. It's fair enough. Is it hard for you to understand that you should be just as proud of yourself?
I think
because without you, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. I suppose that I am proud of myself for it.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a strange thing that I personally chose to do this. That expression that we do use, if it helps one person, then it's enough. Right. And it's like,
we say that to get over the fact that we're
the fact that we want more.
Right. But, to be honest, that is. But the bottom line is, to that person, you are the most famous person in the world.
Well, for me, it was like, I'm like, okay, so at least on the multiplier, or whatever you want to call it, the total impact of that is every single person that's seen that video has been impacted by it, because one person's seen it, and that one person's just told me that they're impacted by it.
100%.
And that meant a lot to me.
I think that if you're truly, and I know this sounds cliche, but if you truly believe in what you're doing, even Rudy gets taken off the field on everybody's arms. So I honestly, in my own mind, I am the biggest fucking star ADHD content creator there is. And no
I would
one
agree
can,
with that.
and no one can tell, and no one can tell me different. No one. Like, so if I got 5 views or 1 view, in my own mind, I did the video not only for someone out there, but I did it for myself also. I watched my own videos because they were damn good.
Oh yeah. That's why I put that video up today. I was I'm not putting a video up today. I hate social media. And then there was that video. If you're feeling like you're worthless right now, then just know that your mental health and your worth aren't attached.
I mean, I never thought about myself as this really famous person, but I do now. Even though to the world I'm not, to me, I fucking am. Like, I honestly believe that. There is no doubt in my mind. And it's backed up by the fact that I get those comments like you've gotten, before that are, thank you for saving my marriage. Thank you for doing, all these kind of things. What the fuck more celebrity status?
But I just want more of that. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not asking for anything different. Just more of the same.
Right. Make a video about that.
Yeah, and maybe I just want one video to go viral just to prove I can. Although I don't, because I know that after that I'll just want that over and over again.
Yeah, the problem is that we get low, we get down because we don't see the numbers, because it's like a grade on a fucking test.
Yeah. Exactly.
And in my words, fuck the teachers. What is your number 1 goal for the marathon? Number 1 goal. I know.
That's an impossible question. What the number 1 goal? I would still say to raise awareness, because I would say that the charity is a secondary goal to that. Because the impact that we have on the individual people's lives that are listening to the episodes or listening to the whole show, that impact will continue to grow with those people. Whereas the money that goes to the charity there'll be another charity thing that'll happen with that charity, and that money, yes, it will go towards amazing projects and stuff. But I hope that each and every one that listens to it takes from at least one of the guests that they hear a new little mantra, a new little saying, a new little perspective, a new kind of take on life. And each one of those things is a seed that's sown, and each one of those seeds is something that could grow into a mighty great oak, So, and that's what, and I think the beauty of the work of this, it will be things that we don't see for years, and that's fine, and that's, for my wanting instant gratification brain, it's not necessarily fine, but I have to remind myself that that's there. So that's the number 1 goal. Number one goal is to impact the audience. So raising awareness, but impacting the audience.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that's a very difficult question because it's a cliche question. Everyone asks it, but it's very difficult. It makes you channel it into what truly do I want out of this.
Yeah, and if we come back to, if we just briefly go back to the what I said before about me trying to organize it. Yeah. That actual goal, it rings true in what I was saying earlier. And I've not actually thought, I'm glad you actually asked me, because at no point have I ever said, what's the goal of this event? The goal of this event is to stream for 36 hours with 36 people. That's not the goal. That's the what. That's not the why. That's the what we're doing, not the why. And the why is to try and impact as many people as possible. And the way we do that is by having a diverse group of people on with a diverse set of stories. We are covering ableism, we are covering racism, we're covering transgender issues, we're covering LGBTQ issues, we are covering ADHD. We have someone on doing some breath work, just to hopefully wake me up in the morning. We have someone coming on to talk about the importance of sleep and sleep hygiene. Someone talking about psychosis. We've got someone talking about eating disorders. We've got someone talking about alcohol abuse. It's like we've got ex-military in there. We've got veterans in there. It's like that's just so far, and I've not even got halfway through the people I've got booked on there. But we do have PTSD. I'm looking at the people. We've got autism, PTSD. We've got the founder of a very, very large suicide prevention group in the UK. We've got diabetes, and then if we get everybody else, There's still going to be covering a bunch more. We're going to, so that's what we're doing. I mean, my community is called Diversity, which is short for diversity. Well, it's a play on words with diversity. It's not short for it because it's exactly the same length, just it's got a C instead of an S. But that's what we're going to represent for. We're going to represent diversity, not just neurodiversity, but all sorts of diversity.
What is your profession?